Around 3,800 years ago, Jacob, Abraham's grandson, leaves the Promised Land and moves his family to Egypt. He is trusting the God of Abraham and Isaac to keep his promises, to make Israel a great nation, to make them as numerous as the stars in the heavens, to bless the entire world through them. But it doesn't look good at this point. There are only 70 of them. Abraham's family has been in existence for 200 years. It's not a lot to show for it. And they are being uprooted from the land God promised them. Jacob can only hope that in some way that he can't fathom, God will fulfill his promises. We sit nearly 4,000 years later. Did God keep his promises? I think it's safe to say that he did. We see what Jacob could only hope for. In Genesis chapter 46, we find a listing of Jacob's family members. These lists, called genealogical trees, are very important and teach us great truths about our God, as we shall see later. Jacob rides to Egypt in a wagon provided by Pharaoh. It probably took a couple of weeks. The whole time, he is anticipating a meeting with Joseph, the son he thought was dead. Then we read about their reunion, and what must it have been like? The text says Joseph rode his chariot to the land of Goshen, where Jacob's family had settled. He went up to his father, embraced him, and then wept and wept. Jacob said, "Son, I can die now. I have seen your face." Joseph turned to those assembled and said, "I'm going to Pharaoh to announce your arrival." So up to Pharaoh Joseph goes. He introduces his family as shepherds. The introduction has an interesting twist. It says that shepherds were an abomination to the Egyptians. It seems like all through history, the Jews have been despised for their various occupations. Now, you may have read recently that Google defined the word Jew as one who bargains in a miserly or petty way. And they have since taken that down. But Jews are often victims of negative stereotypes. If Google had been located in Egypt 4,000 years ago, they would have defined a Jew as a stinking shepherd. Joseph goes in to tell Pharaoh about his family. It is clear that Joseph has astonishing credibility with the sovereign. He doesn't abuse his position of power, but he uses it to bring blessing to other people. And Joseph is a blessing to everyone, to his dad, his whole family, to the entire nation of Israel, all 70 of them, but also to everyone in Egypt and Pharaoh himself, and surely to a bunch of other people who lived in proximity to Egypt. It is amazing how much power you accumulate when you use it for the benefit of others. Joseph, Jacob, and 5 of the brothers come before Pharaoh. They acknowledge they are shepherds, and Pharaoh tells them, "The best of the land of Egypt is before you. And since your specialty is livestock, I'm putting you in charge of my herds as well." Pharaoh asks Jacob, "How old are you?" And Jacob answers, 130. And hard years they have been. Remember that Jacob had been a schemer and deceiver all his life, and now he says that it didn't do him much good. As I previously mentioned, what Jacob does not know is that his best days are ahead. It is so interesting that God blesses Jacob in spite of all his sneakiness and scheming. That should give us hope. Even though we have committed many sins in our lives, we still enjoy the blessings of God. And that's because our God is gracious, forgiving, and good. According to the text, Jacob blesses Pharaoh. I don't know what kind of blessing a great sovereign might have received from a shepherd like Jacob, but Jacob offers it, and Pharaoh receives it. As a follower of Jesus Christ, if you were to stand before any of the world's most important people, you would have a blessing to offer them, and it would be a blessing they need. At one time, Joseph's brothers had contrived to do him evil. Now he is planning how to do them good. This is a typical example of what it means to be a child of God. Forgiveness, not vengeance. Blessing, not cursing. Love, not hate. We see it from the beginning. We see it here in Joseph. In our next video, we see how Joseph, in addition to blessing his family, is a blessing to everyone else.